What's up? Welcome back. You are watching the newsletter platform being built right before your eyes. And this is going to be a way that creators can send email newsletters and monetize their email newsletters so that they can make a little bit of money on the side. So in the last episode, we went through the process of building out create and update for newsletters. Now we want to add the idea of a newsletter issue. But before we do so, what I wanted to do was add in some styling, because so far we have no landing page and everything is kind of like a little bit messy. Notice this is sort of our UI right now. We can see our list of newsletters. We can add a newsletter. We can edit a newsletter, and you can't really tell where the form starts and form stops. So we're going to use Tailwind UI throughout this series. And there are a bunch of pre-built application components and marketing components. So the first thing we might want to do is just grab sort of like a landing page. So I'm going to search for landing page, and we'll take a look at some of these landing page examples. A lot of these things that come directly from Tailwind UI are just so beautiful right out of the box that you can kind of grab some of them and then go off to the races without too much worry or stress. So there are several new landing page examples in here, which are great. So with screenshots and stats, new. Okay, so which ones do we want? Deploy the cloud. Okay, so this one looks pretty cool. I like the style here. It's also pretty long, so we'll need to go through and just chop out the stuff that we don't need. For the code, I'm going to use HTML. I'm going to grab the whole thing. It is worth noting that Tailwind UI is a paid package. I'm using Tailwind UI so that we don't have to futz too much with styling, and we can get to the root of the project, which is really just like building newsletter, reading, sending, and how you build out the monetization. So let's start by opening up our root HTML ERB. This is our marketing landing page, and let's paste in all of that code from Tailwind UI, and then we can head over to our application and just look at what this landing page looks like. It looks pretty beautiful. So the screenshot that's on the right, we will eventually want to change this to be our newsletter platform UI that we're proud of sharing, and then we can kind of come through a lot of this copy and update it later. Now, get started, this can jump right to sort of the authentication. We can remove live demo, and then we're going to start just chopping out many of these pieces that we're not going to use as part of this demo. So here we have the hero section at the top. We have like a few different sections. Here's this feature section. This is going to tell you kind of like the list of features, right? So we have deploy faster. So deploy faster. Okay, so everything you need to deploy your app. And then below that, we have server monitoring and collaborate and some other things. So server monitoring, collaborate. We're just going to like remove huge swaths of this. So feature section, stats. Maybe we'll keep the stats for now. So we refresh. Okay, trusted, yeah, whatever. Instead of deploy to the cloud with confidence, we'll say like, monetize your audience, the most powerful newsletter platform for creators. Whatever, this is close enough. Okay, so get started in live demo. So instead of live demo, we're just going to remove that entirely. Get started, we'll send this to user/sign up. And so now when we say get started, oh, you're already signed in. Okay. So here, what we can actually do is say like, if user signed in, then we want to show them something. Otherwise, we'll show them that button. So if they're signed in, let's send them to /newsletters. And let's actually use the same button as it has for the call to action. And instead of get started, we'll say like your dashboard. Okay. So now we can see your dashboard, and that's your newsletters. And now we have the world's most innovative companies use our app. So the world's, okay, so we want to remove the logo cloud because we don't have any logos yet. Our track record, trusted by thousands of authors worldwide. Okay, we'll just leave like the lorem ipsum there. Then for this, we'll say like authors on the platform. One really cool thing you can do too is just say like user.count. I don't know, right? Like that's right now. There's just one author. You probably also want to check and make sure that this person actually has a newsletter. Whatever. Daily requests. Maybe this is like daily emails or something. Daily emails sent, uptime guaranteed, newsletters created. This one we can probably do again, like newsletter.count. There we go. This is looking pretty good. Whatever. Boost your productivity, start your app today. So we can remove this call to action section. Probably not something necessarily you want to remove in practice, but it's fine. Okay. And then it has this footer, your company, all rights reserved, blah, blah, blah. That's one thing I noticed from this call to action section is that it had some height that I think is important before the footer. So we'll just leave that for now. And then down here, instead of having all of these different things, we can remove all of those icons or just comment them out or whatever. So let's just see. All right, your company Inc. All rights reserved. Here we go. All right, so let's go back to our dashboard now. Now this is fine for like the public facing landing page, right? This is for our application landing page. But what we want to do is make sure that we also have like a dashboard shell for the rest of our views. And so one thing that we can do is go into these components here. And let's say that we want to like, I don't know, navigation, right? Because we want some concept of like an application shell. Yeah, so application shell is going to give us different layouts. So do we want the sidebar layout, a stacked layout, multi-column layout, etc.? I think this sidebar layout looks pretty sweet. So we can just go in here, pick one of these that seems like it looks nice. This one looks really clean. I like the light background and the light sidebar. So let's copy the HTML. And instead of dropping that directly onto a specific page, we're going to use the layout. So application HTML ERB, and we'll drop it inside of the layout here. And we're going to need to clean some stuff up. So this says this example requires that your HTML has this class hfull, and same thing with your body. And this yield is where the actual subpage stuff is being rendered. And so we're going to want to put that in a different place. So if we go back over to /newsletters, we're being asked to log in and we can't really see the page anymore. Okay, so let's move this yield inside of the shell. So here where it says your content, that's where we're going to put yield. Probably also don't need like the round stuff around it. Okay, here we've got this dashboard. We have our this view profile, Tom Cook, etc. We can update and edit like a lot of these different things. You'll also notice that this is like sort of already mobile friendly. So if you want to make it like work on small devices and things, we need to add a little bit of JavaScript. But for now, we just want to like log back in so that we can see our new dashboard, team, project, calendar, documents, etc. We'll, instead of just using the default here, we can render this a different way, or we can like manually code, like hard code some of these. But this is looking like a pretty decent shell. Now, when we go to like add, we want to make sure that our forms are also looking pretty clean. Tailwind UI has some tools for that also. So we can go back to like components and look at forms. And inside of forms, I like to just kind of like, most of the time I'll just grab sort of input groups. So for instance, this is pretty clean. We don't actually need help labels for most of the time. So we can grab that, go back over to our newsletter new and replace it with this sort of drop in. So, and then instead of like these are the type and name that we need. So we can just grab those and replace this. And the ID here needs to match the ID on the label for accessibility so that when you click on the label, it will also focus the input. So if we say add, now clicking on the label focuses the input. So that's pretty cool. But one thing that we're noticing is that like this is a little bit off, right? Like the way that it looks is just a tiny bit off. That's because we need to update our Tailwind config.js to add this plugin at Tailwind CSS/form. So if we go to Tailwind config, you'll notice that here we need to add this plugins, and it should have like required Tailwind CSS forms. As soon as I save this though, I think it crashes. Yeah, so this is going to crash my CSS bundling builder thing because it doesn't know what this module is. So we have to kill our server, say npm install -- save Tailwind CSS forms. And now when we refresh, we actually have two inputs here. So this is the old input and this is the new input. And you can tell now like the spacing around this looks really crisp. When you click on title, it focuses the input. So all of that is looking good. We do want to probably remove this comment and then also this input. And we are going to want to change the placeholder text. So one thing that I like to do is when working with Tailwind CSS, the class property on most inputs becomes really long. And so to make this like manageable, I try to put all the other props closer, like near the front, basically on the left. So type, name, ID, placeholder, literally any other value I want to put to the left of class. Always have class as the last prop, just so it's more readable. Also, if it is an element that contains like children, I always line break so that you can kind of see it. So it's, yeah, it can be helpful. So here we can just say like a plucky title for your subscribers. All right, so if we refresh, and now our create newsletter button is not very fun. So we can also grab some submit text from Tailwind UI. There's also components for buttons. So we can take a look at these buttons here. Maybe we want like that middle one. So we'll just grab like this middle button and drop that in. And again, we can remove, this is what I meant by like nesting, or like if see how this button element has like some child content. Anytime we're using Tailwind in this class thing, it's really long. I like to put that inside here. Okay, and instead of type button, we actually want this to be type submit so that it will submit the form. Come back over here, refresh. Looking pretty good, but these are too friendly, way too friendly. We need some space between those, right? So let's just add like, I don't know, MT4 to add some margin top to the button. So it looks, yeah, now it has some breathing room, right? Breathing room. Okay. So this is going to be like test or like my newsletter 2, create newsletter. Boom. All right. So now we have multiple newsletters. Fantastic. Okay. Moving on. Let's also clean this up. So this needs to be a list, right? So we have a couple different options for lists. There is description lists. We can also do stacked lists, grid lists, tables. In this case, I mean, most of the stuff that I'm building ends up in tables anyway. So if we could just grab a simple table here with an edit link, this looks pretty good. Here is the code for it. Let's just copy that HTML and go to our newsletters index. And we'll drop that in. Okay, so as we're iterating over our list of newsletters, we want to say a list of all the newsletters you author or something like that. And then here we have a button, and the button goes to add user, and the type is button. But instead of button, I want to use a link because I want this to just go to /newsletters/new so that we can replace this link that we had before. Okay, now for each row in the table, we only care about the title of the thing. So let's change this first one to title, remove the rest, and then we'll have edit as like the third column. So we're going to have, this is going to be the title of the newsletter. Again, we'll just make a new line here. Whoops. And we'll say newsletter.title. It had this concept of like odd column and even column. And for each of the rows, we want to do this. So at newsletters.each do newsletter. All right. This should give us something a little bit prettier than what we had before. Okay. Newsletters, a list of newsletters that you author. Add a user. That should be add newsletter. And now we can take this away. Okay. And I don't know, it's a little funky that it has this spacing to the left. So I think PX4, yeah, like we want to take away all of that. Let's see. There we go. That's nicer. The other thing that we want to do is make sure that these edit links really work. And so right now the href for these should be edit newsletter path for the newsletter. Okay, we have edit. And then we'll remove the name. Okay, so that should be good. We actually don't need that span at all. Well, actually, okay, let's leave the span. This is for screen readers only. And then we'll put in newsletter.title so that it makes it nicer. Okay, now we can say edit newsletter 323. So you'll notice that we kind of need to make the same or similar changes to this form that we did to the new form. Instead of using, instead of re-implementing the form twice, what I want to do is extract this form into a partial that we're going to use on both the new and edit page. We'll say add new form.html.erb. Notice that the file name is going to start with an underscore. That in Rails, like convention is a partial. Now, between new and edit, there's a couple differences. The first is that the path where we're submitting the request is different. So we could actually just say something like path is equal to, if the newsletter is persisted, at newsletter.persisted. So if it's persisted, then the path should be newsletter path for @newsletter. Otherwise, it should be newsletters path. That will make sure that we have the right path. So if the newsletter is in the database, then we're going to use like newsletters/1 or newsletters/2. That's like the route where we're going to send the update request. If it's not persisted, that means we're creating a brand new one. Then it's going to go to this /newsletters thing. So now we can just say path instead. And if we go to our edit route here, instead of having the form on our new and edit route, here we can just say like render form. And now we get like this super clean thing that's already filled out. But the other piece of the puzzle is that we lost our value. So inside of the input for the title, we also need to add a value. Since placeholder is kind of long, I'm going to put the value here. Value is going to be @newsletter.title. Now when we refresh the page, it's pre-populated with the correct thing. And finally, we want to do something like if @newsletter.persisted. We want to display one thing. Otherwise, we want to display another thing. And so this is going to be like update newsletter. Okay, let's see. All right, so now we see that it says update there. And we can also go back to our edit form. One other thing that we need to do is recall that if it's an update, we need to do this thing here. So if it is persisted, then we want to put in this hidden input that tells it that it is persisted. Now what's cool is we can use the same form for new and update. So let's go back over to our new view and we can replace this whole thing with render form. So let's update this newsletter test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Update. Boom. Okay, so that was updated. Now let's try to make a new one. Testing again. Create newsletter. Boom. All right, so this is working pretty well. So our dashboard, by default, when we click on this dashboard thing on the side nav, I think it should bring us to our list of newsletters, but it's also potentially a use case where we want to have a separate dashboard view. Or if you were mostly a reader, you would expect your dashboard to be the list of all of the most recent issues, probably from newsletters you subscribe to. So we'll have to come back and rethink about whether or not we want the dashboard view to actually be this, but we definitely want to have probably some like list of newsletters and issues that we have authored off on the left there. The other thing is that this totally broke our root route, right? Like if we look at the root, now our landing page is inside of our application UI. So how do we fix that? Well, let's go and jump into our static pages controller. And here what we could do is we could say layout marketing, and we can create a separate layout. So inside of views layouts, right now there is the application layout. That is like the default one. And that's where we added most of our sort of like Tailwind UI shell code. There is also, we can also copy this whole application HTML ERB and make a new marketing.html.erb template where we paste in basically all of the same stuff and then just remove everything except the notices. We have our marketing page. It's looking pretty good. If we click your dashboard, now we're brought to the dashboard. That's also looking pretty good. I need to figure out the sizing here, but okay, let's also clean up the side nav here. So if we go back to application HTML ERB, you'll notice that like inside of this sidebar, we have like dashboard and we have team. So here, instead of team, let's change this to newsletters. There's also going to be like different icons that we can use. I think these are from hero icons. So for the newsletters navigation item, let's just call it newsletters, and then that'll bring us to /newsletters. And then for the dashboard, let's make this go to /dashboard. And we may or may not come back and implement a new dashboard concept, but for now we can go to the pages controller and say layout dashboard and go to the views for pages and just say like your dashboard. Okay. So now if we click on dashboard, oh, we need a route for this. It's going to be something like get/dashboard to pages dashboard. Okay. And undefined method layout. Oh, right. So inside of our pages controller, we can't use this layout method directly inside of the action. Instead, we need to say like render dashboard layout application, and that should work. Okay, so this is our dashboard. So we could jump between the dashboard and newsletters and back to the dashboard. We also want to have something called like issues. So here we can say, instead of projects, we'll say issues. And then we're also going to want some like payments thing, and then billing. And we'll just like remove this last one from the side. And yeah, okay, so this is looking pretty good. I like this icon for subscribers. So let's also add another thing here that's like, I don't know, your like audience. And maybe we'll show them a list of subscribers. But for now, we'll just leave this back at the £, as we're getting organized. And then a better icon for newsletters, we can go find at Heroicons. Email. All right, so newsletters, I don't know, letter. Okay, that looks cool. All right, so we're going to copy the SVG and we're just going to paste it in here. And we're going to grab the CSS that was used on the previous one and make sure that we sort of match it. And then we'll remove that and see how that looks in the sidebar. So now newsletters has the email icon. That's pretty cool. Audience has the people. Issues is a folder. That should probably also be some sort of email thing like send. Yeah, maybe this paper airplane. So we'll copy that and drop that in. Grab the CSS again and then delete old icon. I'm also thinking it makes sense for issues to be above audience. This is all just, I don't know, we're just kind of like hacking away at it, trying to make it look good. All right. And then we have payments and billing. Let's see if there's any nice like payment. All right. Payments. Well, dollars is very US centric, but we will use it for now. All right. We'll grab this CSS once more, drop that in, and then delete those. Okay, how's it looking now? Looks great. Billing. Let's see if there's a billing thing. Building library. Bank? Is there a bank thing? Bank notes? I don't know. Let's see. Copy. That's fine. All right. All right. So we've got some beautiful navigation here that seems to make sense. We have our newsletters. We can create and edit those. We've got issues, which we don't actually have the idea or concept of sending a newsletter issue yet, but things are looking more stylish than they did before. We can do a couple more things. So like down here in the bottom left, so back in application, HTML, ERB, instead of Tom Cook, we can say current user.name. There's going to be a mobile version and the non-mobile version. So we will actually need to make the same changes that we just made to this side navigation to like the mobile menu, right? Like we have, yeah, again, we see team and projects and et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have to come back and make sure that we have both our mobile menu and our main menu working as expected. All right. Is there anything else that we want to do? I guess like if we were to go to users sign out and we're signed out successfully, if we tried to like get started, something went wrong. What is going on? Undefined name. All right. Because Devise is also going to use this same controller and no one is logged in yet. We probably also want maybe a special layout for Devise. So we could say something like, let's grab the marketing layout. Oh yeah, so let's just use the marketing layout for Devise. So it turns out that if we call our layout Devise, then it will be used by default. So devise.html.erb, and we'll just paste that in. Okay, we will need to clean this up, which there's probably part of Tailwind UI that will be helpful here for like registration. Yeah, sign in and registration. Yeah, so there's like full on views. So at least to start, one thing we could do is like make the background gray and some other really basic things where we can sort of like wrap up everything in this sort of container, that starts to look just a little bit better. So if we look back at the preview here, right, okay. So then what we want inside of this box is going to be after this 14-day free trial thing. And so one thing that we could do pretty simply, I think, is just make everything inside of that type of container. Basically trying to make as small of changes as possible so we don't have to like fully customize all these views, but they still will look pretty good. Okay, let's see. All right, so this is not horrible, and should work just fine for our use cases. Let's go log in. Here we go. jenny.rosenetexample.com. Password. Okay, signed in successfully is showing up here, but whatever, that's fine. And now we can see our dashboard. Basically, I'm pretty happy with the sort of core styling that we've done so far. I will probably go and do some more cleanup off camera, but this should give you a good idea for how you can use Tailwind UI to sort of really quickly build out and clean up your interfaces. In the next episode, we will tackle the next step here, which is authoring a newsletter issue. So stick around for that, and we'll see you in the next one.